Hello, everyone! How is everyone's day going? Today is Friday the 13th. So, what's better than freaking watching a video on the most horrific things that that's happened on Friday the 13th? I'm like, oh my gosh, holy crap. It's October's Friday the 13th. I mean, the freaking lineup cannot get any better. I'm like, I cannot miss my opportunity. So yeah, we're gonna watch this video. We might also watch another video, but on that note, I hope you guys all have enjoy watching this video. So yeah, let's see. Oh my gosh, I'm excited. It's awesome. Just the lineup. But yeah, let's get right into the video. Only for a limited time. Let's see what the okay, let's do this.
Friday the 13th has long been considered a date cursed with bad luck. It's largely been a date that people look at as an excuse to do scary activities like binging scary movies. But this is the first year since 2017 that Friday the 13th falls in October. So for this video, we're looking at some of the most terrifying events that have actually taken place on the notorious day of bad luck. Tupac Shakur, better known as a stage name simply as Tupac.
What the freak happened with Tupac on Friday the 13th? Wait, now I gotta see what the freak?
Tupac was an American rapper widely considered to be one of the most influential and successful rappers of all time. Tupac was arguably responsible for some of the most memorable rap verses in history. And while much of his notoriety came about after his shocking death in the mid-1990s, he's still remembered and talked about today. On the night of September 7th, 1996, Tupac was in Las Vegas celebrating his business partner's birthday. And one night while there, he attended the Bruce Seldon vs. Mike Tyson boxing match with Suge Knight at the MGM Grand. Later that night at about 11:15 p.m., while at a stoplight, a white four-door Cadillac sedan pulled up to the passenger side of Tupac's vehicle, and an occupant rapidly fired into the car. He was hit 4 times, once in the arm, once in the thigh, and twice in the chest, with one bullet entering his right lung. Tupac succumbed to his injuries 6 days later on September 13th, which was a Friday. The case went unresolved, with people suspecting his friend Suge Knight and even rapper Biggie Smalls of the murder. But recently on September 29th, 2023, 60-year-old Duane Keith Davis was charged in the killing of Tupac. Duane is not accused of being the one to pull the trigger that night in Las Vegas, but he is, however, being accused of having been the one to call the hit on Tupac. The trial is still currently in progress.
Dang, holy crap. Okay. Wow, I actually did not know that. I knew he wasn't alive, but the timing, wow, it's crazy. I mean, I guess this does say the most horrific things happened on Friday the 13th, so yeah.
A lot of people refuse to fly on Friday the 13th. And while that may come down to pure superstition among some people, there have been a few tragedies in the air on this day. In October 1970.
Oh, come on! You gotta be kidding me. Oh my gosh, this timing. I can't believe this.
72. On Friday the 13th, a plane heading to Chile was forced to crash land in the Andes Mountains. The flight was carrying 45 passengers and crew, including 19 members of the Old Christians Club rugby union team, along with their families, supporters, and friends. 3 crew members and 9 passengers died immediately. Several more died soon afterward due to the frigid temperatures and the severity of their injuries. Survivors of the crash hid in the wreckage for warmth and were eventually forced to cannibalize and eat deceased passengers to survive. A rescue team was sent out, but the mission was called off after 10 days. However, 72 days after the crash, as the weather improved with the arrival of late spring, 2 survivors climbed a 4,700-meter mountain peak without gear and hiked for 10 days into Chile to seek help, traveling a total of 38 miles. The 2 men were able to alert authorities that there were still 16 survivors trapped in the mountains, leading to their rescue. Believe it or not, on the exact same Friday the 13th as this plane crash, the same exact date, was another plane crash that killed all 164 passengers and 10 flight crew. It was Aeroflot 217. The plane needed to land due to horrible weather conditions, but crashed upon landing in Russia just 3 miles away from the runway. The exact cause of the crash could not be determined, but it's speculated that it was largely to do with simply human error. Casualty-wise, it is one of the worst plane crashes in history. While these incidents are incredibly rare, perhaps there is a reason flights are cheaper on Friday the 13th. If you're not superstitious, perhaps it may be worth it. But now we move from the sky to the sea, looking at the coast.
Wow, holy crap, that's just wow. Man, that's pretty bad. Both on the same day. On Friday the 13th. That's crazy, honestly. And there has to be something with it. I ain't even superstitious, but dang. I don't know how to explain that. It's pretty weird.
Costa Concordia disaster. On Friday the 13th, January 2012, the 8-year-old Costa Cruises ship Costa Concordia just left Civitavecchia, Italy at approximately 7:18 p.m. On board were 1,022 crew members and 3,206 passengers. As the Concordia approached Giglio Island several hours later, it deviated from its standard course, moving closer to the small Tuscan island for a maritime salute, which included the cruise ship sounding its horn to show off to onlookers on the land. The Concordia had performed several in the past, but the area was known for rock outcroppings, and at some point, such a formation was noticed in the ship's path. Francesco Schettino, the captain, ordered a change in course, but allegedly due to language issues, the Indonesian helmsman steered the boat in the opposite direction. It took a little over 10 seconds to correct the maneuver, and the boat's bow ultimately swung clear, but the stern collided with the reef at approximately 9:45 p.m. The damage had been done. The Concordia's port side had suffered a 174-foot tear. This caused the ship to list and then partially sink, landing unevenly on an underwater ledge. Although a 6-hour rescue effort brought most of the passengers ashore, 33 people died, 27 passengers, 5 crew, and later a member of the salvage team. An investigation focused on the shortcomings in the procedures followed by the Concordia's crew and the actions of the captain, Francesco, who left the ship prematurely, leaving behind about 300 passengers on board the sinking ship, most of whom were rescued by helicopters or motorboats in the area. Schettino was found guilty of manslaughter and sentenced to 16 years in prison. Despite receiving criticism, Costa Cruises and its parent company Carnival Corporation didn't face criminal charges. The total cost of the disaster, including victims' compensation, refloating, towing, and scrapping costs, is estimated at $2 billion, more than 3 times the ship's original $612 million construction cost. The cruise line offered compensation to passengers to pay for all damages, including the value of the cruise. Only 1/3 of the survivors took the offer. This remains the biggest modern cruise ship catastrophe.
So now we got, like, what, Final Destination, Friday 13th, Titanic crap going on with the Freak? Like, is that what that was? Who the hell knows, but dang, that's crazy. But now, here's what I want to see, because you got Friday 13th, Jason Voorhees, all that crap. But I want to see, like, a Final Destination Friday the 13th movie, because it makes a little more sense than the Jason Voorhees movies. I mean, I've never seen them before, but, I mean, that's my opinion at least. But, yeah. No, I think a Final Destination, like Friday 13th movie would be fun. Make more sense maybe a little bit, but who knows. Anyways, on to the next one.
David Anthony McGreevy was born in Southport, England in 1951 to Bella and Thomas McGreevy. David was the second oldest of 6 children. Since David's father was a sergeant in the British Army, a lot of his childhood was spent moving from one army base to another. This could mean that one year he was being educated in an army school in England, the next in Germany. According to David's mother, living in Germany was his happiest time. David's mother, Bella, later said she could only remember one childhood incident of concern, as David was otherwise allegedly well behaved. In 1967, 15-year-old David left school and enlisted in the Royal Navy. However, he was dismissed from the Navy in August 1971 after being court-martialed for starting a fire that destroyed a mess wardroom. David then moved back in with his parents, but around this time his life was crumbling as his fiancée broke up with him and he was fired from several jobs. For this reason, his parents became fed up with him and kicked him out. So David turned to his friend Clive Kenneth Ralph, who let him board with he and his wife, Dorothy Elsie, and their two small children, Paul and Dawn. Clive and Dorothy had been school friends, and there was a 5-year age gap between them. They had married in September 1968, when Dorothy was 16 and pregnant with Paul. At the time David moved in, Dorothy was pregnant with their third child, Samantha, who was born on the 14th of July in 1972. With both Clive and Dorothy busy working, David acted as a babysitter for the Ralph children. He was regarded by family and neighbors as well as the Ralphs as a person who loved children. So what would soon happen was nothing short of unexpected and horrific.
I already have strong feeling where this is going to go. It's kind of disturbing.
On Friday the 13th, in April 1973, Elsie was picked up from work by Clive, who had left home late with the children all asleep. When the couple arrived at their home, the police were already there, and they escorted them to the police station, where they were told of the horrible truth that their children had been murdered. So what happened? Well, David was known to be a heavy drinker and sometimes a violent drunk. He had gone to a nearby pub earlier that evening with a friend, and he had 7 pints of beer. The two men had played cards and darts, though a small altercation took place prior to leaving the pub. Clive picked David up from the pub and brought him to look after the children, while Clive went to get Elsie from work. Sometime between 10:15 and 11:15 p.m., David, while completely wasted, became infuriated with the children, beginning with the baby Samantha, who had been crying for her bottle. David violently killed the 3 children, each in a different yet brutal manner. After killing the 3 children, David went down to the basement and retrieved a pickaxe to further mutilate their bodies. David was arrested by police at 3:50 a.m., walking on a road near the Ralphs' home. Upon his arrest, David initially denied any responsibility, but several hours later, he admitted to the murders, with his only explained reasoning disgustingly being simply that the baby was crying. David was sentenced to multiple life sentences with minimums of 20 years, and in prison he was subjected to frequent abuse by other prisoners, and he spent most of his 45 years behind bars in protected conditions. In December of 2018, a parole board cleared David for release, declaring that he had changed significantly and he was no longer a risk.
That is so dang disturbing. It's hard to really make my stomach turn and all that crap, but holy crap, that actually one that gave me goosebumps too. It just made my stomach turn, made me kind of nauseated. That's awful. It's horrific. That's disgusting. Can't believe that. That's sad.
There's bound to be anywhere from 1 to 3 Friday the 13ths each year. If you are superstitious and choose to be more low-key on this inevitable date in an attempt to escape any bad luck, you may end up like Daz Baxter. On Friday the 13th in 1976, Daz decided to just stay in the bed for the day to avoid anything bad happening, only to be killed when the floor of his apartment block collapsed under him. There's countless other stories and examples of misfortune and downright tragedy that's happened on Friday the 13th, but this could be said for literally every other date on the calendar. At the end of the day, maybe it's just another day.
Wow. Okay, that was actually pretty good. I like that. Scary. Second to last one made my stomach turn, but yeah. Dang. Alright, let's watch 3 haunting true October scary stories.
Before getting into the stories, I just want to announce that I've partnered with Makeshift to create a limited edition plush toy based on the ghost character that was my channel logo for 8 years. Just in time for Halloween season, so this is the perfect collectible for any long-term fans of the channel. He comes with a top hat, martini glass, and all, which actually attaches with Velcro so it can be removed. These are made with really high quality. I'm actually impressed with how well they did. So if you want one, check the link in the description to order. town I grew up in was pretty country, to put it lightly. Nothing but farms, crops, abandoned churches, and ugly worn-down houses. Everyone around us was pretty broke. Property taxes were like $1,000 a year, if that. With that came a lot of sketchball characters. Hell, even our neighbor was a weirdo. Nice, but weird. We weren't well off ourselves, but things at least got a little better for my family when my siblings and I were old enough to work too. When this app Hot or Not was still a thing many years back, I matched this girl Kelly, who I started seeing for a while. We matched in late summertime, and we were seeing each other through September already. This was early October. Kelly and I were looking for a nice, cheap date to go on. Really, there wasn't much to do around there. We've gone on hikes, explored, and gotten food. Not much else going on. So we took a new route in the car this day, somewhere neither of us had been, just to find something. We found this little restaurant sitting in a random parking lot on the side of the road. It had outdoor seating, so we went there. It was a warm, cloudy day when we arrived and got seated at a table outside the restaurant. We were there for 45 minutes to an hour, and after leaving, it grew noticeably foggy out. We continued to drive down this route we'd never been down before, a really desolate road with just open fields and farmland on either side, with occasional—
The Mist. The Mist. That's all I'm saying. Isn't that the movie? I think that's the movie. Let's see. Come on. Hey. The Mist. Yep, that's what I thought. The Mist, that's all I'm saying. This is what feels like it's taking a turn for.
patches of trees and woods. Then we passed something different. It was a sign for a pumpkin patch, only it was a very cheaply made sign.
Oh no.
It wasn't some big billboard or anything like that. It was a wooden picket sign that said pumpkin picking this way, and an arrow pointing to the right. Right behind the sign was a dirt driveway cutting through the field. Through the fog, we saw a house that the driveway led to, so a spur-of-the-moment decision, we both agreed we wanted to check it out because why not? I drove off the road down the driveway, and we passed the house into this back area which was covered by trees in two directions, the left side and the far back side. Tucked between the house and woods was this big pumpkin patch. It was a genuine pumpkin farm, and we saw at least 200 pumpkins scattered all over the place, and that was just what the fog allowed us to see. We parked next to this old jalopy of a pickup truck, the only other vehicle visible on the property. We noticed an older couple sitting on the back deck of the house. As we got out, the two of them got up and greeted us. I said we're here for the pumpkin picking, and the old woman said with a smile, "Welcome, pick anything you'd like." I asked her how much it would be for a pumpkin,
creepy.
and the
This
old
is
woman said it's free.
just the vibes.
We were surprised. The fog was acting as a sort of barrier, so we couldn't clearly see the two. It was a little creepy, but I could still tell that it looked like the old man was smiling at Kelly. His smile was very gummy, it was kind of gross. We both said thank you, and started walking into the pumpkin patch. A lot of the pumpkins were on the smaller side, or mushy and just not very attractive. The ground was also kind of wet from the fog, I guess, and some of the pumpkins felt wet and muddy too. It was hard to find a really nice one, but eventually we did find one. I picked up this big, healthy-looking pumpkin. It was heavy. I brought it over to the back deck where the old couple just was. They weren't there anymore. I asked Kelly if we should just leave. She said probably. It really felt like we were clear to leave since we already thanked the couple and they made it clear they were free. So we got back in the car, and I started doing a 3-point turn on the dirt driveway to leave, when we heard someone yelling outside. We both got startled and turned to face the house, where we saw a middle-aged man in a cap yelling, "Hey, stop." I lowered the window, and he put his face through the window and yelled, "What the hell are y'all doing? I'm calling 911. I said, "What did we do?" And he said, "Put that pumpkin back right now." Kelly and I, talking over each other, both tried to explain to the man that the older couple told us to take whatever we wanted. I assumed they were his parents. The man said, "What older couple? What are you talking about?" I replied, "Are your parents also here?" He said, "I ain't got no parents." Kelly and I, both equally confused, looked at each other.
Hell no. Hell no. 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 Nope. See, nope. There's And if that was like me in real life, I'd get like the chills. Nah.
each other.
What
I
the
said,
freak?
sir, there was an older couple sitting on your back deck 10 minutes ago. And
Oh,
they told us
hell
to take
no.
whatever we wanted. The man said there ain't no older couples here.
I'd be scared
He
on
asked
both
where
sides.
the pumpkin is. I told him in the back. I unlocked the door and he grabbed the pumpkin. He said if we ever came back here, he'd shoot us. And then he spit at the ground and walked back to his house.
Oh my
He
gosh.
drove us out of there. We were as confused as could be. We considered the idea that maybe it was a joke, but that would be a real sick joke.
No matter what, I'd still be scared. Honestly, I'm gonna be scared in that situation no matter what.
I made a joke saying, what if they were ghosts? And Kelly said stop, clearly
Worse
freaked
than
out.
ghosts. I have a
But then
feeling
I
it's
got the
worse than
chills
ghosts.
myself as I thought about what I just said. There was silence in the car for a few seconds, and I know we both pondered that idea. Out of curiosity, one day my two siblings went to that pumpkin farm to go pumpkin picking. They bought a pumpkin from the guy we saw, and they probed him a bit, asking about the farm and if the man lives there with anyone. The man said he lives there alone. This was unsettling to hear. It truly to this day doesn't make a lick of sense. Could the man have been lying about the older couple being there? I don't know. Possibly, but why? The scarier question is, what if he wasn't lying, and he truly does live alone? Then who were those people?
Man, hell no, that's scary.
It was late October when I woke up to one of my best friends, Connor, hitting me up asking if I was down to come to his house later. It was a Saturday afternoon and I was in high school at the time, so I spent most of my weekends with friends. Connor's parents were out of town for the weekend, and he was home alone with one of his older sisters, whom I'll just call Chantel. She was supposedly watching him the entire weekend. With that information, I knew he was just asking me to come over and party. Again, I didn't have any work responsibilities to worry about at the time, so I agreed to the idea and headed over to his house. When I got to his house, we played some Call of Duty on his family room's couch for a few hours, talking about school, sports, girls, and whatever else we cared about at the time. Eventually, he brought up the idea of going to a Halloween party in his neighborhood that a bunch of people from our high school were going to. At first, I was a bit hesitant of the idea, but after some convincing, I was down to go. I'm not introverted or anything, I just wasn't feeling like partying that night, but Connor was dying to go, so trying to be a good friend, I agreed to go. I asked him about getting some kind of costume, and he had 2 security staff shirts that we could just throw on and use as the bare minimum of a Halloween costume. We continued to play on Xbox for a few more hours until 10:30 rolled around. Connor ran upstairs to Chantel's room, telling her we were going as if she cared. Then we threw on our shirts and headed out. After a quick 5-minute walk, we pulled up to a Halloween decorated house where we could hear the music blaring from inside. We walked past the decorations and through the door where we were slammed with the loud music we heard outside. The place was packed with maybe 70 other high school kids raving and just talking in groups throughout the house. It was your average high school party. A few minutes later, I'd already lost Connor as I was pulled aside by Lino, one of my baseball teammates who I'd hardly seen at all that year. He sat me down on a couch in a circle with some of my other friends and teammates.
Oh no.
We continued to talk for a couple hours, laughing at dumb
I don't know
memories
where
brought
this
up
is
in
gonna
conversation
turn.
and partaking
What
in
turns
activities
this
that
could
normally
take?
go down
What
at
twist?
parties. At this point in the night, I was feeling tired and completely out of it. I knew it was
Stranger
time for me
Things.
to go home and get some rest for the night. I looked through the party for Connor, where he was flirting with a girl in the corner of the kitchen. As I accidentally interrupted his conversation, I asked him if it was cool for me to go back to his house and sleep. He agreed and said he was going to stay for a little longer, but the girl he was talking to asked if I could go get some drinks from the basement. I agreed to do so after realizing I completely interrupted their deep conversation. It was the least I could do. It didn't take me long to find the basement, as I opened the door and headed down the dimly lit stairs. I stumbled down the last few steps and fell into the fridge. As I opened it, I was greeted by a man's voice behind me, who tried quietly saying boo. I jumped and threw my hands up, facing the direction I heard the voice from.
Oh no.
There was a tall, 35-year-old looking man wearing a black cloak costume and standing
Oh,
behind
no.
me with a grin
This
on his
is
face,
creepy.
making a surprise gesture with his hands.
This
What the hell
can't be
was
good.
that for? I yelled, with a clear slur in my speech. The guy laughed and introduced himself as the party host's cousin. I was so out of it, I didn't even question why he was in a dark basement by himself, and there was a massive party going on upstairs with loud music. The guy awkwardly tried making conversation, but I told him I needed to get my friend his drink and leave the party. I'm honestly pretty open and chatty to strangers when I'm out of it like that, but even at that moment, I didn't like his vibe, and I tried everything I could to get away. He blurted, "Nice meeting you," as I turned around, walking up the creaking stairs. I told my friend goodbye and left the party. The lights and Halloween decorations on each house in the neighborhood lit up the street as I walked back to Connor's house. It didn't really matter though, because the walk was literally 5 minutes at most. I reflected on the weird exchange I had with that man in the basement as I walked, and I couldn't shake the odd vibes he gave off. The more I thought about it, the weirder it became in my head. I eventually got to Connor's house. It was completely dark, and Chantal's car was gone from the driveway, meaning I was home alone. I walked into the dark, eerie house and didn't bother turning on some lights, just headed straight to the basement to sleep. I walked down there and passed out on the couch. I lay like a baby for maybe 15 minutes until I heard a crashing noise upstairs. It woke me right up. I tried listening for anything else, but I heard nothing. I thought I was hearing things, then tried getting back to sleep. I don't know how much time.
Perfect plan. Okay, I got the plan for you. It'll save you. Do what all of us do. Hide under the blanket. I don't know what they do. They act like some type of shield, though. Make sure your feet aren't poking out. Hide under the blanket. Works every time. You got a demon in your room? Hide under the blanket. yeah. But, yeah. Alright, back into the rest of it. That's just funny. Hide under the blanket. It works every time.
Passed from when I first heard the crash, but I could hear
Also, that's what I would do, probably.
the floorboards above me creaking like someone was walking on them. I thought it was Connor or Chantel, but it sounded way too heavy to be either of them. I pulled
Not 911. Call the blankets. Hide under the blankets. Probably not the smartest thing, though, so.
out my phone and texted Connor, asking if he was home yet. I stared at the ceiling, trying to listen. The door to the basement opened.
Oh, that
I
scared
could hear a
me.
person walk down the staircase. I peeked
I
around the
don't
bend
like
of
this.
the room to see the stair opening. I saw the man
God.
I saw earlier at the party, standing right there, quietly, illuminated by the stair light. I tried not to make any noise, praying that the man would just walk away. A few moments passed by before he randomly turned and quietly walked out of the basement, closing the door.
Oh,
I
God.
picked up my phone.
Hey, yo, was that the freaking Minecraft door sound? Wait. That was starting to scare me, but I swear if they used the Minecraft door sound, that's so funny.
And quietly walked out of the basement, closing the door.
That's the freaking Minecraft door sound. Oh my gosh, can't believe that.
I picked up my phone and dialed 911. I explained the situation to them, gave them everything they needed, and I waited patiently in the basement for them to show up. I tried opening the windows down there, but they were all sealed shut. I had no escape through the basement door that the man was standing by earlier. The cops eventually came, and they arrested the man because he was still there. He was found hiding underneath Chantel's bed. She had gotten home and was getting ready for bed, and was moments from getting into the bed when she heard the cops knocking on the front door downstairs. I have no idea what his intention was, but clearly he followed me home. The whole encounter has really confused me. I'm just glad things played out the way they did. Oddly enough, the cops were able to review neighboring houses' cameras, and they saw the man following me home, but then he lost me after taking the corner into the cul-de-sac. He ended up lurking on Chantel, watching her get out of her car and walk into the house. Then he snuck around to the backyard and broke in through the back door. Always be alert of your surroundings.
That's creepy. That is creepy. Holy crap. That actually probably scared me the most.
It was the middle of October. The leaves were just starting to change to that beautiful mix of orange and yellow. My wife Courtney and I are a gay couple. We've been married for 2 years now. We wanted to take advantage of the fall foliage and go to the Catskill Mountains in New York. We booked an Airbnb by Overlook Mountain, a popular hiking destination. We're avid hikers, so we go all over the country to explore national parks and famous hiking destinations. This was our third time going to Catskill, New York. The owner of the Airbnb was an adorable-looking sweet woman who was definitely in her 50s or 60s. Out of respect, I'll just name her Kathy. Kathy was very easy to work with and very responsive. She had the key to the little house hidden in a code locked mailbox, and she gave me the code. Inside was a very rustic and cabinet type of field, with wooden walls and floors, but bright colored rugs to cover the wood floors. It was well kept and nice, spacious enough for 2 people. Outside was woods in all directions. There was a shed converted to a little clubhouse outside, with a pool table and dartboard and a bunch of things hung on the walls.
That's fun.
We drove to the base of the Overlook Mountain Trail, and there were some people around. Not many, but a few. As we were ascending the mountain on foot, we'd pass occasional hikers on their way down. Eventually, we sat on a big rock overlooking an amazing cliff view, just admiring for a while. Eventually, we heard a footstep crunching a leaf behind us. We turned around and saw a woman by herself, leaning on a tree. She was like 55 or something. She was clearly looking at us until we turned and saw her. Then she awkwardly looked away. I would have otherwise said hi, but she made it weird. We just ignored it, until randomly we heard her say hi. So we turned again and saw she was looking at us. We said hi back. Then she asked where we're from. From here, we just got into a seemingly normal conversation with her. She said her name was Melinda.
Seemingly normal, but because this is a horror story, I already know. No, there's something up with this lady.
And she was from the area. She asked where we're staying, offering her knowledge of the area to suggest places to check out. I told her right up the road at an Airbnb. She suggested some places to go, and then the conversation kind of died off from there. Courtney and I said, well, it was nice meeting you, as we now started descending the trail back towards the car. Weirdly, we noticed the Melinda lady was now also heading down as well, but she was keeping a bit of a distance, not within earshot. We found a spot to rest on the way down for a minute, and we noticed Melinda seemed to stop too at the same time. She was still out of earshot. This was weird. We felt like she was following us, so we decided to just stay put and wait her out, see if she'd move. After a while, she finally did continue making her way down, past us. She looked at us and smiled and said okay as she walked past us. We waited till she was out of sight before we continued hiking down. We got back to the parking area a while later, and from there we went straight back to the Airbnb right up the road. We were exhausted, so we took a nap. Then we went out to eat at this place called Garden Cafe, which was highly rated. After that, it was pitch black out, so we went back to the Airbnb with plans to just cuddle up and watch movies. We had a long day of hiking, so we were gonna sleep good. There was only a TV in the living room, but it was set up to have Netflix and everything, so we found a good movie to watch and put it on. We were so tired that we started drifting off to sleep halfway through the movie. I noticed Courtney was completely knocked out, and I was following suit, when suddenly, I was immediately snapped back awake to the sound of knocks at the door.
No.
We were in the middle of the woods.
That would scare
Knocks
me
at the door
so
were a huge
bad.
concern. Nobody should be here. There was no
And
peephole.
the fact that it literally says true stories, like, this is real crap. This is scary. Oh my gosh.
Door. I couldn't check who was there. All the blinds were closed, and I wasn't gonna dare peeking out of one of them.
Smart.
I shook Courtney awake and told her someone's at the door. I muted the TV, and we waited for a second set of knocks that came only seconds later. We both agreed there's no—
Wait, did he say they muted the TV? Shoot, they muted the TV now. Now, if the lady didn't, or the person didn't know someone was there, they're now gonna know, because all of a sudden now the TV's muted. Yeah, act like nothing happened. Or, like, make it seem like nothing happened, even though, like, you are, like, getting ready to protect yourself and all that crap.
no shot we were opening the door. It was still early, like 9 o'clock, so I texted Kathy asking if she was at the door. There was then a knock at the window, and a woman's voice on the other side asking is someone in there. Courtney and I were now freaked out. I'd say we were in a panic. Knocking on a stranger's window
If you
is
freaking answer, I'm just gonna lose it. That's all I gotta say.
not a normal thing somebody does. What happened next was even more disturbing. We heard the person trying to lift open the window. Thankfully,
hell no.
it was locked. Kathy was calling me now. I showed Courtney, and she said maybe it is her outside, that's why she's calling. I picked up in a low voice, and Kathy on the other end told me she was at home, and she asked who was outside. When I told her what's happening, she sounded confused and concerned. None of her friends or relatives would go to that house, she said. She told us don't open the door, and we
Here's what I would tell her. I would be... First of all, I wouldn't go on call, and second of all, either I'd call 911 or I'd have her call 911. Like, holy crap. No, I'd have her call 911 because then I wouldn't make any noise. So, yeah.
Took her advice. After hanging up, there were now knocks on another window, and the voice called, "I need help, please let me in."
No, that's what they always say. They say that crap in real life. They say that in horror movies. No, hell no. I'm smart enough. No, yeah, no. You say you need help? 99% of the time it's not. Oh my gosh.
We knew better than to fall for this. Something bad would happen if
Okay,
we let
good
them
enough.
in.
Smart enough.
We started to realize it could have been that weird lady from the hiking trail. Like, what if
Oh,
she
it
followed us
definitely
back
is.
to
It
the
definitely
Airbnb?
is.
We honestly wouldn't have even noticed. I went to the bedroom where it was completely pitch black, and I ever so delicately moved the blind up just a crack to peek outside. There was a man walking past the window. He didn't
Oh my gosh, this is getting worse. This is just getting so much worse.
notice me. I went back to Courtney to tell her that there were multiple people out there. This
Oh!
was an invasion. We called 911. I gave them the address and stayed on the line. There were a few more knocks at the door, but we never answered. The people outside eventually gave up, I believe, because the knocks and yells stopped. The police took a while to get there, but when they did, we felt a lot better. The officers were very nice, and they stayed with us while we figured out what we wanted to do. I called Kathy again and explained what happened and why we didn't feel safe staying there tonight anymore. She was completely understanding. We still paid for that night, but the rest of the stay was canceled, and the
Thank
officers
goodness.
stayed with us while we packed our things and loaded the car.
Good.
One of them led us in his car to the nearest motel where we stayed for the night. Given
Great, you're going from bad to bad. You just went from getting checked in to now you're going into a freaking motel. Motels are scary, man. Like, holy crap. Freaking Bates Motel. I ain't taking my damn chances. Oh my gosh.
the circumstances, we drove home the next day because honestly, we just didn't want to be in the area after that. We think
Now here's something dumb I've done before. Not at a motel, but think I've listened to this. There have been times I've been traveling and I'll stay at a hotel, and one of the times I put on headphones and I listen to motel horror stories, which is probably like one of the worst things to do while you're staying at a hotel. Loved it, but also scared the crap out of me when I was doing it. And that's how I fell asleep. Like I listened to the motel horror stories to sleep. Like, oh my gosh.
this was some kind of group that was looking for easy targets to abduct and may have been using a woman as some kind of scout to gain their trust. And they saw two young women by themselves, so they tried to target us. For future hikes, we've started to bring pepper spray with
frick
us
is
just as a
that?
form of self-defense.
What the frick is that thing? I'm coming back to that video, whether it's on like a reaction or something. You guys can tell me if you want me to do that. What the frick is that though? What the frick is that? Nah though. What the freak is that? I'm fine. I'm not. Nah. Well, I hope you guys all have a lovely rest of your Friday the 13th. And, yeah. Just always be cautious because you might be next. Goodbye. Just kidding. Bye, everyone. Have a lovely rest of your day. Goodbye.